Segment 1. The Greenfield Live Broadcast. October 22nd, 2014. Morning news anchor Patricia Holbrook stands in front of a weather map at Channel 9 studio, delivering her usual upbeat forecast. At exactly 7:42 a.m., she stops. Her hand moves to her throat and she manages to say 2 words before she collapses on camera. Paramedics arrive within minutes, but Holbrook is unresponsive. By the time they reach Greenfield Memorial Hospital, she's pronounced dead. What everyone assumes is a sudden medical emergency. Becomes a homicide investigation the next day when the autopsy comes back. Cause of death: acute cyanide poisoning. It turns out Holbrook ingested the poison roughly 30 to 70 minutes before she collapsed. Someone murdered her in the narrow window before she went on air, inside a secure television studio with cameras covering nearly every angle. Investigators start with the obvious: her coffee. Security footage shows Holbrook arriving at 6:15 a.m., entering the break room around 6:30, retrieving her coffee mug from her locked desk drawer in the newsroom, and pouring coffee from the communal pot. The mug is personalized. She'd used it 1,000,000 times already. The problem was that the mug had been stored in her locked desk drawer. Only Holbrook had the key. Police interview all 14 staff members present in the building that morning. Co-anchor Derek Rains, who was on air with her when she collapsed, describes her as completely normal that morning, joking and showing no signs of illness or distress. Patricia Holbrook was a simple meteorologist with 8 years at Channel 9, beloved by viewers for her upbeat personality and community involvement. No known enemies, no recent conflicts, no personal crises. Family and colleagues describe her life as stable, happy, and unremarkable in every way except for how it ended. Investigators develop 3 theories. First, a stalker gained unauthorized access to the studio days before, planted cyanide in her mug, and waited. Second, a colleague with undetected access to her desk poisoned the cup sometime before October 22nd. And third, Holbrook intentionally poisoned herself and staged it to look like murder. But none of the theories added up. There was no evidence and no suspects. Still, there were her last words. The co-anchor who sat right next to Holbrook told the police that she muttered something as she held her neck. However, he wasn't so sure what she said. The case remains open, and nearly a decade later, there were no answers. Segment 2. The Belmont Cooking Show Incident. Celebrity chef Raymond DuPont takes a bite of lobster risotto during a live taping of Kitchen Kings. The dish was prepared by his co-host and longtime friend, Marcus Brandt. However, within 30 seconds, DuPont's face begins to swell. DuPont collapses on set while cameras continue rolling. The studio audience screams. Paramedics arrive within minutes and administer epinephrine, but the allergic reaction is too advanced. By the time they reach the hospital, Raymond DuPont is dead. At first, everyone assumes it's a horrific accident, a cross-contamination error, a mislabeled ingredient, something tragic but unintentional. Then, investigators find DuPont's missing epinephrine injector in a trash can in the men's dressing room. You see, security footage shows Marcus Brandt entering DuPont's dressing room 40 minutes before taping, exiting with something concealed in his jacket. Forensic analysis of the risotto confirms the presence of shrimp paste, an ingredient not listed in Brandt's official recipe card submitted to producers. DuPont had a severe, documented shellfish allergy. It was listed in every contract he'd ever signed. His entire crew knew. Brandt had known since culinary school. This wasn't an accident, it was murder. Text messages recovered from Brandt's phone paint a portrait of escalating resentment. In July 2015, DuPont signed a $750,000 3-book deal with Culinary House Publishing. Brandt, who was expected to co-author, wasn't included in the contract. The exclusion fractured a friendship that had lasted nearly 2 decades. Messages from August 2015 onward show Brandt's bitterness festering. He wrote to a friend, "Ray gets everything handed to him while I'm treated like the sidekick. He wouldn't have a career without me." For 8 months leading up to March 2016, production staff reported strange incidents. DuPont's ingredients would be contaminated. Equipment malfunctioned during his segments, always on episodes featuring Brandt's cooking. At the time, crew members chalked it up to bad luck or sloppy production assistance. Looking back, it was sabotage. When sabotage didn't destroy DuPont's career, Brandt escalated. In the week before the taping, Brandt's search history included phrases like hidden shellfish ingredients and how fast anaphylaxis kills. He researched methods and planned the timing. He modified his recipe to include shrimp paste, an ingredient that dissolves into risotto, nearly impossible to detect by taste or sight. On March 8th, Brandt stole DuPont's epinephrine injector, ensuring his former friend would have no way to save himself. DuPont took a bite, and less than 15 minutes after, he was pronounced dead. Brandt was arrested on March 15, 2016. Initially, he claimed the shellfish was an accident. Then he changed his story, then he changed it again. Nothing stuck. At trial in September 2017, Marcus Brandt was convicted of second-degree murder with special circumstances. He was sentenced to 25 years to life. His only statement before sentencing was, "The show was supposed to be ours, but everyone only saw him."
The show was supposed to be ours.
Segment 3, the Lakewood reality show tragedy. It's June 14th, 2015, and Alyssa Brennan is clipping into her safety harness at the top of Eagles Ridge. She's contestant number 7 in the rappelling challenge, and for the first 80 feet, everything goes perfectly. Then, her harness snaps at the waist strap. Instantly, Alyssa falls to the rocky terrain below. When on-site medical staff reach her, she's dead from impact. Investigators arrive expecting to confirm equipment failure, maybe cite the production company for negligence, and close the case as a tragic accident. Then, forensic engineers examine the harness. The waist strap didn't fail from wear or stress. It was deliberately cut partway through with a sharp blade. The cuts were positioned with surgical precision, designed to hold under initial tension before failing catastrophically under sustained body weight. 17 people had legitimate access to the equipment storage tent during that time. 12 contestants and 5 crew members, however, no security cameras monitored the area. Alyssa Brennan had been dominating the competition since filming began. She won 3 consecutive challenges and emerged as the clear frontrunner for the $500,000 prize. But she also made enemies. Derek Moss, a 32-year-old firefighter, had openly expressed frustration with Alyssa's aggressive tactics during challenges. Multiple heated arguments between them were caught on camera. Moss was scheduled to rappel third that morning, meaning he was present near the equipment storage area. Investigators questioned him extensively, but no physical evidence linked him to the sabotage. In fact, no physical evidence linked anyone to the crime. Whoever cut the webbing knew exactly what they were doing. How much material to weaken, where to position the incisions, how to avoid leaving traces. The case remains open but inactive. Cold case files list 2 primary theories: a rival contestant who saw Alyssa as insurmountable competition, or a crew member with a personal grudge never uncovered during investigation. Segment 4, the Sanders Hour case, January 19th. 2017. Gerald Sanders sits across from best-selling author Lindsay Carmichael on the set of The Sanders Hour, his late-night talk show, broadcast live P. The interview is going well. Sanders is engaged, cracking jokes, steering the conversation with his usual charm. At 7:32 p.m., he stops, moves his hands to his chest, and within seconds, he suffers violent convulsions and falls from his chair. The broadcast cuts to commercial as the studio medics rush the stage. Sanders goes into cardiac arrest, and 10 minutes later, he's pronounced dead. While the cause of death was initially believed to be cardiac arrest, something wasn't adding up. 2 days later, medical reports reveal something else entirely. Sanders had lethal levels of potassium chloride in his system. The poison causes cardiac arrest, mimicking natural heart failure, but it leaves traces when investigators know to look for it. Someone poisoned him hours before the broadcast, knowing he'd die on camera. Investigators immediately focus on who had access to Sanders' tea. For 3 years, only one person prepared his custom green tea blend, Vanessa Green, his longtime producer and trusted colleague. Security footage from January 19th shows Green alone in Sanders' dressing room for approximately 8 minutes at 4 p.m., preparing the tea as she'd done countless times before. When police question her on January 22nd, Green breaks down within minutes and confesses. She poisoned Sanders to prevent him from discovering that she'd been embezzling from the show for 4 years. You see, Green's scheme was elaborate. She made false vendor invoices, inflated equipment rental costs, and phantom production expenses. Over 4 years, Green siphoned approximately $340,000 into personal accounts. Sanders trusted her completely with show finances and never questioned the numbers. In December 2016, Network West announced a routine financial audit of all programming budgets scheduled for January 2017. Green wasn't immediately concerned. She'd covered her tracks well. But on January 10th, Sanders noticed irregularities in reports and questioned her about inflated inflated equipment costs. She assured him it was standard industry pricing, but Sanders wasn't convinced. On January 15th, he privately contacted the network financial controller requesting a full audit of production expenses. The meeting was scheduled for the day after the broadcast. Hearing about the meeting, Green decided to act fast. During her confession, she told investigators she added powdered potassium chloride to Sanders' tea on the afternoon of January 19th, knowing it would kill him during the live broadcast. She hoped his death would appear natural and the audit would be quietly canceled during the mourning period. Instead, standard toxicology screening caught the poison within days. Later that year, in 2017, Vanessa Holbrook was convicted of second-degree murder, fraud, and embezzlement. She received 20 years to life with restitution ordered to Network West and Sanders' estate. Segment 5. The Mountain Vista Stunt Gone Wrong. Professional stunt performer Jake Corrigan stands at the edge of Sentinel Peak, preparing for a jump from 1,200 feet as multiple cameras face him. He checks his equipment one final time, shows no concern, and leaps confidently into open air. His parachute deploys, but immediately it fails. Corrigan is free-falling from nearly 1,000 feet. Emergency medical personnel reach him within minutes after he hit the ground, but by then, he is already dead. Everyone assumes tragic equipment failure, so no one suspects foul play. However, just 2 days later, forensic examination reveals otherwise. The parachute's deployment lines were deliberately cut through with a sharp blade. The cuts were positioned on the interior side of the fabric sleeve, invisible during standard inspection. Whoever sabotaged the equipment knew exactly how much material to leave intact, enough to pass safety checks, guaranteed to fail under deployment stress. Two individuals immediately draw investigator attention. Tyler Vance, a 29-year-old stunt performer and fellow cast member, had been in a bitter conflict with Corrigan for weeks. Both men pursued romantic involvement with production assistant Marissa Chen. Crew members reported multiple heated confrontations between Vance and Corrigan. Some caught on behind-the-scenes footage. Vance admitted to being furious about Corrigan's relationship with Chen, but denied any involvement in the sabotage. He had access to the trailer during the critical window, but there was no physical evidence linking him to the crime. Dennis Holloway, a 34-year-old grip worker, had been convicted of assault 5 days before Corrigan's death, largely due to Corrigan's eyewitness testimony in court. During his interviews, Holloway expressed anger toward Corrigan, stating he had ruined his life. Holloway also had access to the equipment trailer, yet he wasn't the one behind the sabotage. Investigators interviewed all 11 people with access. No one saw anything. No blade was recovered, not even fingerprints. Forensic experts determined the cuts required knowledge of parachute construction, specifically understanding which lines were critical for deployment and how much damage could remain hidden during inspection. The saboteur knew what they were doing. Corrigan's family filed wrongful death lawsuits against both Tyler Vance and Dennis Holloway. Both cases were dismissed due to insufficient evidence. Without physical proof linking either man to the sabotage, prosecutors declined to file criminal charges. The case remains open, unsolved even till today. Segment 6. The Riverside Game Show Incident. Brian Holloway stands on the stage of Winner Takes All, a high-stakes game show produced by Cascade Productions in Riverside, California. He's advanced through 7 rounds and reached the final challenge. Fortune's Door. 3 prop doors sit before him, each supposedly containing different prize outcomes. Holloway selects door number 3, reaches for the gleaming metal handle, and makes contact. The moment his hand touches metal, a massive electrical shock rips through his body and throws him backward onto the stage floor. The studio erupts as the medics rush the stage. Host Amanda Keller screams for emergency services. Holloway isn't breathing. The electrical current has stopped his heart. 30 minutes later, he's pronounced dead at Riverside Community Hospital from cardiac arrest caused by high-voltage electrical shock. What everyone assumes is a catastrophic technical malfunction becomes a murder investigation the next day when electrical safety inspectors examined door number 3. The door had been illegally wired to deliver 240 volts of live current directly through the metal handle, enough to cause instant cardiac arrest and far beyond anything that should exist on a television set. 6 different safety systems designed to prevent exactly this type of incident had been deliberately bypassed. Investigators immediately focus on who had access to the electrical systems. Security footage from April 11th shows lead electrician Marcus Webb working working alone on the set after production hours, spending approximately 35 minutes near the stage area where the prop doors are installed. Forensic analysis reveals tool marks on door number 3's electrical panel that match Webb's personal equipment. When confronted with evidence on April 16th, Webb confesses within hours. He rigged the door with lethal current to expose management's negligence and make them pay for treating loyal employees like disposable parts. The motive traces back to January 2018. Marcus Webb, a 41-year-old electrician who had worked at Cascade Productions for 6 years with an otherwise clean safety record, applied for promotion to head of technical operations. Despite his seniority, the position went to Julian Cross, a 28-year-old who'd only been with the company for 18 months. Webb took it badly. Performance reviews from February and March note increased irritability and conflicts with supervisors. Co-workers reported him making comments about teaching management a lesson they won't forget. On April 10th, Webb submitted falsified electrical inspection reports for episode 189 set, including the 3 prop doors used in the final challenge. The reports claimed all equipment was safe and compliant with production standards. They weren't. Security footage from the night of April 11th captures Webb's sabotage in real time. 35 minutes of work rewiring door number 3 to bypass safety protocols and deliver live current to the handle. He knew exactly what he was doing. He'd been an electrician for over 2 decades. During interrogation, Webb stated he wanted to cause a shocking accident that would destroy the show's reputation and expose management's disregard for worker loyalty. But digital evidence told a different story. In the weeks before the sabotage, Webb had researched lethal voltage levels and non-lethal electrical shocks online. His search history proved he understood the difference and chose the lethal option deliberately. Brian Halloway was a 35-year-old accountant from San Diego competing for a $100,000 grand prize. He'd successfully navigated 7 rounds and was considered the favorite to win. He died instantly when the electrical current stopped his heart upon contact with the door handle. The medical examiner confirmed cardiac arrest caused by high voltage shock. Death would have been immediate. In December 2018, Marcus Webb was convicted of first-degree murder, attempted murder, other contestants could have chosen door number 3, and criminal sabotage. He was sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole. Winner Takes All was canceled immediately. Cascade Productions faced $12 million in wrongful death lawsuits from Halloway's family. The set was demolished within weeks. Segment 7, The Portland Talent Search Drowning. August 6, 2016. Natasha Reeves stands atop a 40-foot diving platform at the Portland Aquatic Center, blindfolded, preparing to perform her signature dive for the finale of America's Hidden Talents. Below her, 340,000 viewers watch via live stream as she executes a flawless aerial sequence, twisting, rotating, perfecting her form mid-air. She enters the water cleanly. Then comes a sound no one expects, a sickening crack that echoes through the facility. Reeves doesn't resurface. Safety divers plunge into the pool immediately and find her unconscious at the bottom. The pool is impossibly shallow. Within minutes, she's extracted and rushed to Portland Medical Center. By the time she arrives, Natasha Reeves is pronounced dead from massive spinal trauma and skull fracture consistent with high-velocity impact against a solid surface. Pool inspectors arrive the next morning and discover something horrifying. The water depth measures only 6 feet, half the required 12-foot minimum for platform diving from 40 feet. Someone deliberately drained half the water from the pool between the afternoon rehearsal and the evening performance. The previous day, August 5th, Reeves conducted her technical rehearsal at 2 p.m. The pool was measured at regulation 12-foot depth. The safety coordinator approved the setup. Everything checked out. Reeves performed the dive successfully as she had over 100 times before at various venues worldwide. On August 6th, between noon and 5 p.m., the pool area was closed for lighting and camera adjustments. Security access logs show 11 people entered during that window. Contestants, crew members, and facility staff all had legitimate reasons to be there. None left physical evidence on the drainage controls beyond normal facility fingerprints. At 7:56 p.m., Natasha Reeves completed her aerial sequence and entered the water. Her form was perfect. Her blindfolded entry was exact. She'd performed this routine dozens of times. But this time, instead of 12 feet of water cushioning her dive, there were only 6 feet between her and concrete. The impact fractured her skull and severed her spinal spinal cord. Death was likely instantaneous. Investigators immediately focused on motive and access. Natasha Reeves had been the competition favorite since the show began, receiving the highest audience votes and judge scores in all previous rounds. She was 26 years old, a professional high diver from San Diego with 12 years of competitive and performance experience. Winning seemed inevitable. Engineering analysis determined the sabotage required sophisticated understanding of the facility's automated systems, specifically how to disable sensors, operate drainage valves, and avoid triggering failsafes. The timing suggests someone who knew Reeves's performance schedule and the exact depth requirements for her dive. 11 people had access. 2 had potential motives or means, but there was no physical evidence linking them to the crime. Digital Wave Entertainment attempted to suppress the footage, but clips circulated online before they could scrub it entirely. The video shows a professional athlete performing flawlessly and dying anyway because someone turned her stage into a death trap she couldn't see. The show was canceled immediately. Portland Aquatic Center closed the pool permanently and filed for bankruptcy within a year. Reeves's family sued the production company, the facility, and rival contestants. Every lawsuit was dismissed for lack of evidence. The drainage valves that killed Natasha Reeves remain in police evidence storage, wiped clean of anything that could identify who opened them. To this day, the case was never solved.